Today, we are diving deep into one of the most epic and consequential family disputes in all of history, the story of Abraham and his two sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Now, this is way more than just an ancient tale. It's really the origin story for two entire peoples, all of it shaped by a divine promise, a very human plan, and a rivalry that would, quite literally, change the world.
So think about it. They had the same father, but their legacies could not be more different. One son was set to inherit a divine covenant, while the other was cast out into the wilderness. So how? How did two brothers from the very same household end up as the patriarchs of two completely separate nations? Well, that's the central question we're going to explore.
To really get why their paths went in such dramatically different directions, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And that beginning, it wasn't some happy, simple start. It was defined by this long, agonizing wait for a promise that, for a long time, seemed like it just might never come true. I mean, just look at this timeline. The sheer scale of it is staggering. This wasn't a test of faith that lasted a few weeks or months. We're talking about a quarter century of waiting for God's promise of a son. And right in the middle of that long, long wait, when hope was probably starting to fade, a son is born. But he's not the son of the promise. He's the son of a plan. And this is where you see the fundamental difference, right from the very start. Ishmael's birth was the result of a human plan, right? Sarah, unable to have children, gives her servant Hagar to her husband Abraham. But Isaac, his birth was a straight-up miracle. He was born to a woman well past childbearing age as the direct fulfillment of God's promise. Their very origins put them on two completely different tracks.
So for a little while, you've got this very complicated family living under one roof. You have the son of the human plan and the son of the divine promise together. But as you can probably guess, that piece was incredibly fragile and it was not going to last.
So, the promised son is named Isaac, which literally means he laughs. And really, it's the perfect name. It just captures that sense of pure joy and maybe even a little bit of disbelief that Abraham and Sarah must have felt. I mean, come on, a 90-year-old woman and 100-year-old man having a baby? It's the kind of miracle that could only be met with laughter. As you can imagine, Isaac's birth was a huge deal. The feast they held when he was weaned wasn't just some party, it was a really important public ceremony. It was about making it official, solidifying his status as the true promised heir. For a moment, everything seemed perfect and joyful. But in a family with this much history and tension, joy can be a very fragile thing. And this is the moment. This is where the story takes that sharp, painful turn. The same laughter that welcomed Isaac into the world soon sours into bitterness and jealousy. The fragile piece of this family is about to be completely shattered.
So what was the trigger? It all happens at that big celebration for Isaac. His older brother, Ishmael, who's a teenager by this point, is seen mocking the toddler. And that word mocking is key, because as we're about to see, this was seen as much, much more than just a little bit of innocent teasing.
Okay, so to understand what happens next, you really have to try to see it from Sarah's perspective. She doesn't just see a teenager making fun of his little brother. No, she sees the firstborn son making a direct challenge to the inheritance and the status of her son, the promised one. In her eyes, this was a serious threat, and it had to be dealt with immediately. And her reaction is just swift and absolute. She goes to Abraham with this incredibly harsh demand. This isn't a suggestion, it's an ultimatum. Get rid of them, cast them out. The line has been drawn in the sand. In her mind, there is absolutely no room for two heirs. You can just imagine the agony this puts Abraham in. He is deeply, deeply distressed. Ishmael is his son too, and he loves him. But then, something totally unexpected happens. God intervenes. And in a shocking twist, he tells Abraham, do what Sarah says. It's a painful, confusing command, and Abraham has no idea what the purpose behind it is. And just like that, it's done. They are cast out. The entire focus of the story now shifts to Hagar and Ishmael, a mother and her son, sent away with just a little bread and a skin of water into the brutal, unforgiving wilderness. And their journey immediately becomes a nightmare. The supplies run out almost right away. The water is gone. Hagar, seeing absolutely no hope left, puts her son under a bush and walks away because she just can't bear to watch him die. This is rock bottom. But just when all hope seems lost, a voice is heard. And here it is, the big turning point. The narrative makes a special point of saying that God heard the cry of the boy of Ishmael.
An angel speaks to a distraught Hagar, tells her not to be afraid, and then her eyes are opened and she sees a well of water. It's such a powerful moment. They were cast out by their family, but they were not abandoned by God. Now, this rescue in the desert, it was about so much more than just saving 2 people from thirst. This was about preserving a separate, parallel destiny. It's like the camera pulls back and you start to see God's much, much bigger plan. A plan that actually had room for both of Abraham's sons, just not in the same house.
And this idea, while it reframes the entire story, the painful, traumatic separation wasn't just some unfortunate family tragedy. From a theological viewpoint, it was a necessary and deliberate part of God's sovereign plan to create 2 distinct peoples, each with their own unique promise and purpose. So let's break down those 2 promises. For Isaac, he was the heir of that special covenant, the line through which the people of Israel would come. But, and this is crucial, Ishmael also received a powerful divine promise. He too would be blessed, and he would become the father of a great nation with 12 rulers of his own. They were on different paths, for sure, but both were marked by a divine promise.
And the big takeaway from this perspective is really profound. It suggests that God's ultimate plans are never actually derailed by our very human failings, things like jealousy, impatience, or fear. His plan is just bigger than all of that. It points to a grace that isn't confined to just one chosen line, but one that extends even to those like Ishmael, who were pushed to the outside.
So at the end of the day, this is a story about a divine plan working itself out through a deeply flawed and broken family. And it leaves us with a pretty challenging question to think about. If something as painful as casting someone out can be seen as part of a larger divine promise, how does that change the way we look for purpose and grace, especially in the most difficult and unexpected parts of our own stories?